Hello, good evening, everybody. I hope uh, you're able to see and hear me. So, as you're aware that we are going through the accession and reasoning series of botany, and we're going to deal with the plant kingdom today. We're going to deal with plant kingdom today. So I'm just checking whether the sound is good enough or not. So all is well. So let's start off with the first question. The members of chlorophyllaceae are commonly called as green algae, which is true. Which is true. Chlorophyllaceae are grasses, green due to dominance of pigments chlorophyll A and B, which is true. So, and indeed, it is explaining why those are green in color, because of the dominance of chlorophyll A and B. So, I would say both the statements are true, and indeed, it is the right explanation of it. So, the answer will be A. The answer will be A. The first option will be true. The first option will be true. The first option is your answer. Both are true, and reason is indeed the right statement as well. The reason is indeed the right statement as well. Next, next, at least, at least a half of the total carbon dioxide fixation on Earth is carried out by algae through photosynthesis, which is true. Which is true. It is a direct line. Being photosynthetic, algae decreases the level of dissolved oxygen in their immediate environment. Why, Baba? If algae is involved in photosynthesis, as you know, oxygen is a byproduct, so it will rather increase the oxygen content in the environment in which the algae is, rather than decreasing. So, since it is given as decreasing, I would say reason as a statement is false. 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 So I would say both the not both of them. Assertion is true and reason as a statement is false. So which one gives the answer for us? Okay, this option C. Option C, assertion is true and reason is false. And reason is false. Next question. The algae reproduce by vegetative, asexual, and sexual methods. Yes, true. Vegetative reproduction is algae by fragmentation. Yes, but these are two individual statements, right? It is not, reason is not explaining, okay, about the vegetative, asexual, and sexual. So I would say both the statements are true, but the reason is not actually explaining. Those are two individual statements. So I will say B as the answer. I would go with B as the answer, where both the statements are true, and indeed it is not the right explanation. And indeed it is not the right explanation. Next question. The phylogenetic classification systems are based on evolutionary relationship between the various organisms. The phylogenetic classification systems are based on evolutionary relationship between the various organisms, which is true. Phylogenetic classification system assumes that the organisms belonging to different taxa have a common ancestor. No, it doesn't say. It doesn't say that organisms belonging to different taxa have a common ancestor. No. Okay. It doesn't say at all. So reason R is false. Is false. Okay, assertion is true and reason is false. So answer will be option C. Answer will be option C. Next point, next question. Let's see the next question. What does the next question says? The natural classification systems are based on natural affinities among the organisms, which is true. Natural classification system for flowering plants was given by Bentham and Hooker, which is true. But it didn't actually explain, okay, the natural system of classification in the reason. So I would go with both the statements are true, but it is not the right explanation. So I would go as B as the answer. I would go with B as the answer. Next one. Next question. The members of Phaeophyce are found primarily in marine habitats, which is true. In Phaeophyce, food is stored as a complex carbohydrates, which may be in the form of lamictal or mannitol, which is true as well. So I would say both the statements are true, but it is not actually explaining why, okay, they are primarily marine habitat. So I would say both the statements are individually right, but it is not actually explaining the assertion statement. So B would be our answer, that A and R are true, but it is not actually explaining why, okay, the Chlorophyllaceae members are mostly aquatic. Let's see the next question. What does it state? Bryophytes usually occur in damp. Humid, and shady localities. Okay, where there is shade, humid, and moisture is available, that's where they are primarily available. Bryophytes can live in soil, but they are dependent on water for asexual reproduction. All of you know that, okay, they do dependent on water, okay, but it is not asexual, rather it is sexual reproduction. Next one. So that means okay, reason as a statement is false. So A is true and R is false. So the answer is C. Let's see the next question. Peat of sphagnum is used as packing material for transshipment of living material, which is true. Why is it used? Because it can hold water and keep the tissues moist enough, or okay, they make sure that they are not drying out. So it is true as well. So indeed, the reason statement is explaining why the peat of sphagnum is used for transshipment of material, because it holds the water. So both the statements are true, and indeed it is the right explanation. Okay. Next one. Next one. The first stage in life cycle of mosses is the protonema stage. What does it state? The first stage in life cycle of mosses is the protonema stage, which is true so far, which develops directly from a spore. Yes, entire statement is true. Protonema stage is creeping, brown, unbranched, and frequently non-filamentous. No, it is filamentous. It is filamentous, and rather it is green, not brown. So reason as a statement, it is false. Reason as a statement, it is false. Okay, reason as a statement, it is false. I would say both of them are right. Both of them are not. No, assertion is true and reason is false. I would go with C as the answer. C as the answer. Assertion is true and reason is false. Assertion is true and reason is false. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. What does it says? What does it says? The spread of living pteridophytes is limited and restricted to narrow geographical areas, which is true. Nobody is denying. Yes, it is restricted to fewer geographical areas. The reason, the gametophytes of pteridophytes require cool, damp, shady places to grow, which is not seen, okay, throughout the world. Some are dry as hell, so in those places pteridophytes can't survive. So I would say both the statements are true, and indeed it is the right explanation as well. I will go with A as the answer. I will go with A as the answer. Let's see. Okay, I hope, okay, you understand, okay, what I'm talking about. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. The earliest systems of classification used only superficial morphological characters. What does it say? The earlier, or rather the earliest system of classification used only superficial morphological characters, which is true. Artificial system gave equal weightage to vegetative and sexual characters, which is true, but it is not actually explaining the assertion statement. So I would go with both the statements are true and it is not actually explaining the assertion statement. So I would go with B as the answer. I would go with B as the answer. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. Mosses are of great economical importance. Mosses are of great economical importance, which is true. Mosses, along with lichens or lichens, are the first organisms to colonize rocks, okay, so that soil can be formed. So I would say both the statements are true and indeed it is the right explanation, and it is the right explanation. Okay, why they are ecologically important? Because they are the first organisms to colonize rocks so that soil can be formed. So I would say both the statements are true and indeed it is the right explanation as well, and indeed it is the right explanation as well. Let's see the next question. Let's see the next question. What does it states? What does it states? Hello? What does it states? Evolutionarily, pteridophytes are important organisms. True. Pteridophytes are the first terrestrial plants to possess vascular tissues and show an event that is precursor to seed habit. Yes, which is true. As you know, which one? The heterosporous pteridophyte. The heterosporous pteridophytes are the ones which have shown the precursor of seed habitat. So I would say both the statements are true and indeed it is the right explanation as well, and indeed it is the right explanation as well. Okay, clear? Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. Pyrenoids are storage bodies in most of the members of chlorophyllaceae. Pyrenoids are storage bodies in most of the members of the chlorophyllaceae. True. In chlorophyllaceae, pyrenoids contain starch and proteins. Yes, both of them are true, and indeed it is the right explanation as well, and indeed it is the right explanation as well. So I would go with A as the answer. I would go with A as the answer. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. The male sex organ, the male sex organ in bryophytes is called antheridium, which is flask shaped. No, this it's the gynecium, right, which is in the flask shape. So this is false. This is false. So the male sex organ in bryophyte is called antheridium, which is flask, no, which is sac shaped or club shaped, right? So this female sex organ in bryophytes is archegonium, which produces a single egg, which is true. So then what will be our answer? D. Okay, assertion is false, untrue as a statement. Okay, and reason as a statement is correct. So the answer will be D. The answer will be D for this particular question. Let's see the next one. The members of Phaeophyllaceae, the member of Phaeophyllaceae vary in color from olive green to various shades of brown, which is true. The difference in color in the members of Phaeophyllaceae depends upon the amount of xanthophyll pigment fucoxanthin present in them. That's the reason why, okay, they are in various shades of brown. So I would go with A as the answer. Both the statements are true, and indeed the reason is explaining the assertion statement. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. What does the next question states? Some members of the pteridophytes may flourish well in sandy soil condition, which sounds true for me. Pteridophytes are soil binders, which is true. Okay, but it didn't actually explain how they are able to flourish in sandy soil. That would have been explained in reason, which it is not. So I would say both the statements are true, but it is not explaining the assertion. So I will go with the B as the answer. I will go with B as the answer. Clear? Let's go for the next one. Let's go for the next one. Development of zygote into young embryo takes place within the female gametophytes in pteridophytes. In the pteridophytes, what does it states? Development of zygote into young embryo takes place within the female gametophytes in pteridophytes, which is true. Development of zygote into young embryo with the gametophyte is precursor to the seed habit and is considered to an important step, which is true. Is it explaining, okay, why it is, okay, happening so? Because it is dependent on it, and that's the reason why it is not able to separate. So I would go with B as the answer. Both the statements are true, but it is not actually explaining it. Next one. Next question. The leaves in gymnosperms are well adapted to withstand extremes of temperature, humidity, and wind. Yes, yes, true. Leaves of gymnosperms possess large surface area and thin cuticle. Okay, and thin cuticle. Large surface area? No, Baba. Nope. This part is false. So the statement will be false. The statement is false. Assertion is true and reason is false. Assertion is true and reason is false. Okay. So answer will be C. Answer will be C. Next question. Next question. In gymnosperms, the male and the female gametophytes do not have an independent free living existence. In gymnosperms, the male and female gametophytes do not have an independent free living existence, which is true. In gymnosperms, the male and female gametophytes remain within sporangia retained on the sporophytes, which is true, but it is not actually explaining. Is it explaining? Yes, indeed it is explaining. Why they are independent? Okay, because they are retained. So both the statements are true, and indeed it is the right explanation as well. So I would go with A as the answer. Next one. Next question. Next question. In mosses, capsule contains spores. In mosses, capsule contains spores, which is true. Spores in mosses are formed as a result of mitosis. No, false. So I would go with C as the answer. Okay, C as the answer. I would go with C as the answer. I would go with C as the answer. Let's see the next question. 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 The main plant body of bryophytes is called gametophyte, which is true. The main plant body of bryophytes is haploid and it produces the gametes, which is true. Okay, and I would say, okay, both of them are true and it is the right explanation. So I would go with the first one as the answer. I would go with the first one as the answer. Let's see the next question. The members of Rhodophyceae are commonly called as red algae. The members of Rhodophyceae are commonly called as red algae, which is true. What is the reason saying? In red algae, there is predominance of the red pigment, that is R-phycoerythrin, in their body. That's the reason why, okay, they are red in color. So both the statements are true and indeed it is the right explanation as well. So I would go with A as the answer. I would go with A as the answer. Hello. Let's go for the next question. Agar is used to grow microbes and in preparations of ice creams and jellies, which is true. Agar is obtained from Gelidium and Gracilaria, which are brown algae. It sounds a little bit fishy over here. It is not brown algae, it is red algae. So The reason as a statement is false. The reason as a statement it is false. Reason as a statement is false. So the answer would be C. The answer would be C. The answer would be C. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. Let's see how many of you will answer. Zoospores are most commonly asexual spores produced in algae, which is true. Which is true. It sounds true for me. Okay, which is true. Zoospores are non-motile on germination gives rise to new plants. Those are motile. Why those are non-motile? Okay, so this part is false. So I would go the statement as false. I will go the statement as false. The answer will be assertion is true and reason is false. Assertion is true and reason is false. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. Artificial system of classification separated the closely related species since they were based on few characteristics. Which is true. Natural taxonomy can be easily carried out using computers. Which is true. Which is true. Okay, so I would say both the statements are correct. I would say both the statements are correct. Let's go for the next question. Cytotaxonomy is based on cytological information like chromosome number, structure, and behavior. Which sounds true. Okay, next one. Number and codes are assigned to all characters and then data are processed in cytotaxonomy. No, the data is processed with the help of computers. So this statement is false. So which one will be the answer? Statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect. Let's go for the next question. Fusion between one large non-motile static female gamete and a smaller motile male gamete is called as isogamous. No, it is not isogamous. Then it is called as oogamous, right? So iso means both should be similar. So I would say the assertion statement as false. Assertion as a statement is false. Let's see the reason statement. No, these are not assertion reason. There is a typing error. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, there is a typing error. These are statement. This is statement 1. This is statement 2. Okay, this is statement 1 and this is statement 2. So statement 1 is wrong. Let's see the statement 2. These are not assertion reasoning. These are statement. Isogamous type of sexual reproduction takes place in Eulothrix and Spirogyra. What does it say? Is it true? Okay, isogamous type of sex takes place in and Spirogyra, which is true. So the answer is statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. Statement 2 is correct. So the answer is C. The answer is C. The answer is C. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. What does it says? What does it says? Next question. What does it states? What does it says? It states many species of Porphyra. Again, I'm really sorry for the somewhere the errors have not been. These are statement based questions. After assertions we are doing statement 1 and this is statement 2. So statement 1, what does it say? Many species of Porphyra laminaria sphagnum are among the 70 species of marine algae used as food. Nope. Okay, I don't think so. Okay, next, what does the next statement says? What does the next statement says? Chlorella, a unicellular algae rich in protein, is used as a food supplement even by space travelers, which is true. So statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct. Let's go for the next answer. I'm sorry, next question rather. Next question. Algin, statement 1. Okay, algin is a hydrocolloid produced by red algae. No, it's brown algae, right? So it is false. Next one. Polysiphonia and Porphyra are the members of Rhodophyceae. What does it state? What does it say? What does it say? Polysiphonia. What are these? Polysiphonia. What kind of algae is this one? Red algae or green algae? Indeed, it is a red algae. Polysiphonia, Porphyra, Gelidium and Gracilaria. So this is true as a statement. What will be our answer? Okay, statement 1 is incorrect. Statement 2 is correct. Statement 2 is correct. Statement 2 is correct. Statement 2 is correct. So NEET 2025 says hello sir, hi. Kaushik, hi. Gaurav, hi. Yes, Gaurav, that is the right answer. Next, the chloroplast may be discoid, plate-like structure, plate-like, reticulate, cup-shaped, spiral or ribbon-shaped in different species of Chlorophyceae, which is true. Some algae of Chlorophyceae may store food in the form of oil droplets, which is true. So I would say both the statements are true. So the first one will be the answer. Next one. Green algae usually have a rigid cell wall made of an inner layer of pectose and an outer layer of cellulose. The other way round. So it is false. Next one, Chlamydomonas, Volvox, Elothrix are examples some of the commonly found green algae, which is true. So I would say statement C will be our answer. Statement C will be our answer. Next. Members of Phaeophyllaceae possess chlorophyll A, D, and carotenoids, which is true. Which is true. Majority of the red algae are marine with greater concentration found in warmer areas. Warmer areas. Am I? No. Let me see. Chlorophyllaceae. Okay. It is A. Okay. Chlorophyllaceae. Phaeophyllaceae. It is A. Okay. Rhodophyllaceae. You do have A, but you have along with this B, C, and D. So what I'm asking, Phaeophyllaceae, so it should be C. So this statement is false. This statement is false. This statement is false. Let's see the next question. Let's see the next statement. Majority of the red algae are marine with greater concentration found in warmer, which is true. I would say C as the answer. Statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. What is the next question says? In red algae, store food Floridian starch is very similar to amylopectin and glycogen in structure. True. The red thalli of most of the red algae are multicellular. So both the statements are correct. Both the statements are correct. Both the statements are correct. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. In Phaeophyllaceae, leaf-like photosynthetic organ in the plant body is called as the holdfast. No. In Phaeophyllaceae, leaf-like photosynthetic organ is called as the holdfast. No, it is frond, right? It is frond. So I would go 30. The fifth question, the third statement 1 is false. Statement 2, let's see, the gametes are pyriform and bear two laterally attached flagella. This is the structure. So this is true. Which one will be answer? Statement 1 is incorrect. Statement 2 is correct. C option is your answer. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. Statement 1. Statement 1. Sexual reproduction is oogamous and are accompanied by complex forced fertilization developments in red algae. Yes, true. Red algae reproduce asexually by non-motile gametes. Okay, and sexually by motile spores. Sexually by motile spores. Let me be very clear over here. Red algae, okay, they are not motile. They are not motile. There is no flagella. There is no flagella. So they don't have motile. Yet, okay, yet oogamous occurs. Okay, because the male gamete would swim and reach the female gamete. So this motile thing is wrong. So 36 question, statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is correct. The answer will be B. The answer will be B. No flagella. No flagella in red algae. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. Bryophytes includes the horsetails and ferns. Horsetails and the ferns. Nope. Next, that is pteridophytes, right? Pteridophytes includes mosses and liverworts. Wrong. It should be the other way around. It should be the other way around. Then it would have been correct. So I would say both the statements are incorrect. both the statements are incorrect. I would say both the statements are incorrect. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. Let's see the next question. Bryophytes are called as amphibians of the plant kingdom, which is true. I can't deny that. Okay, which is true. Bryophytes are dependent on water for sexual reproduction, not for asexual, sexual. So then it is wrong. So I would say statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect. So B is our answer. B is our answer. Let's go for the next question. Let's go for the next question. The plant body of bryophytes is more differentiated than that of a algae. Yes, true. Okay, nobody is denying it. Okay, algae, it is thalloid body. Algae, it is thalloid body. Bryophytes, you see, okay, thalloid body, but more differentiated than algae for sure, where you see root-like structures, which we call them as rhizoids. Okay, so stem-like structures, leaf-like structures, phylloids, colloids. So for sure, compared to algae, bryophytes body is much differentiated. Next statement 2, bryophytes possess true roots, stems and leaves. I just told you, okay, they don't have true roots, they have root-like structures, stem-like structures. So true, no, they have root-like, they are stem-like, but they don't have true, okay, root and stems and leaves. So I would say statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect. Let's go for the next question. The sex organs in bryophytes are multicellular. Yes, which is true. Nobody is denying it. Okay, next, in bryophytes, zygotes do not undergo reduction division immediately and produces a multicellular body called as gametophytes. What does it say? Let's see. What does the question says over here? In bryophyte, zygote do not undergo reduction division immediately and produces a multicellular body called as gametophyte. It does undergo, right? Okay, so I would show this as false. So statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect. Let's go for the next question. Let's see the next question. Mosses form dense mats on the soil. They reduce the impact of falling rain and prevent the soil erosion, which is true. Okay, species of sphagnum provide peat that have long been used as fuel, which is true. In majority of the Scandinavian countries where there is we don't see much of trees, and they do need, okay, some kind of a fuel to keep them warm. So this peat which is dried can be used as a fuel, so which is true. So I would say both the statements are correct. Let's see the next question. Gemma green multicellular sexual buds which develop in gemma cups located on the thalli. So this okay is a fishy over here. It's a black sheep. It's not sexual, asexual. So this statement is false. Next, in liverworts, the sporophyte cannot be differentiated into the food seta and capsule. Okay, in liverworts, the sporophyte cannot be differentiated into the food seta and capsule. Why not? Why not? We can. So this is okay, false. So I would say both the statements are incorrect. Both the statements are incorrect. Okay, so these are some of the assertion and reasoning based questions. Hope you go through all the series of my lectures, okay, where I have covered many important chapters in the form of assertion and reasoning. And I'll see you on Monday with morphology, where we're going to cover some of the important questions in the form of assertion, reasoning, and some statement based questions as well. Thank you for listening, and see you.